So New Zealand did what they do really well. They were efficient, they were solid, they were not spectacular. Classic New Zealand. Welcome to the shiny side review of the game between Netherlands and New Zealand. New Zealand just wrapped up a win. And today, as a guest, we have Umair Vadria for the first time on the show. Umair is the last person I happen to play cricket with, actually. He is a big Real Madrid fan, and I'm super pleased to have him on the show. So, Umair, how are you doing?
Good, yeah. Thanks for having me.
How you feel about the World Cup so far?
Not too bad, yeah. Obviously, it's great to have some cricket to watch every single day. That's the best part. Yeah. It can just be playing in the background, whatever the match is, and it's good to follow. I mean, with tournaments, it's nice to sort of know how it started, flavor क्या रहा, किस तरह से वो.
And आपको पता है कि अगले 45 days तक रोज cricket है TV पे, which is a great feeling all day pretty much.
Which is great. कल बड़ा अच्छा है actually. कल सुबह 10 बजे शुरू होगी और रात 10 बजे चलेगा.
Yes, hopefully ends well. But before we start, I'm quickly going to, so we have this section at the beginning where we do a 33-second summary of the day's game. And I actually make it a point to time it to see how well we do on that. So I'm going to do the summary for the day. So Netherlands won the toss and put New Zealand in, a bit like what they did to us, same venue also, Hyderabad. And New Zealand had a stop-start kind of innings. They were about 140 for one, but they had three guys making 50s in Young, Latham, and Ravindra. They had Ferguson coming in for Neesham, by the way, and they finished up about 322 for 7. They had 2 wickets each for Aryan Dutt, the spinner, Van der Werve, and Van Meekeren. And then in response, it seemed like Netherlands never really went for it, a bit like how they did what they did against us. They had Ackerman top scoring at 69, nobody else scored a 50. Santner took 5 for 59. A great catch at the boundary by Bolt. Henry took 40 for 3, and eventually New Zealand won by 99 runs. So that was 40 seconds, not bad. 7 seconds over. So yeah, I think that was the game today.
I started a little late and you were exactly 33 on my count.
Okay.
I started like 8 seconds late.
Yeah, so not bad. Huh? I'm getting better at this.
Not bad, yeah.
But yeah, I think overall, so this is the same venue, by the way, we're playing tomorrow. So I think Netherlands had looked at New Zealand, I guess they did what's good for them. They were efficient. They got a score. They had Neesham coming in. They left Neesham out for Ferguson. And yeah, they were pretty efficient. I think on the other hand, I'm not sure if you have again, not sure how much of the innings you caught, but New Zealand looked solid as always. They didn't really go for it per se, but they were solid.
They did. They started really well, and it is always a good feeling as the batting side. If you're like around the 40 over mark, and your team is around 240, 250, which I think they were, with a few wickets in hand. Yeah. And then you know that you have that launching pad. Ab jitna run banana yaar banao, aakhri 10
collapse hoga to 320 to banega, right? That's the situation there.
मतलब 300 तो बनेगा, चलो मैं पाकिस्तानी हूँ तो 300 तक पहुंच जाए हमारे लिए बहुत है.
Yeah.
तो I think वो अच्छा दूसरा आज मुझे ना बड़ा अच्छा I really like this guy Lockie Ferguson. He's one of those he's an outright pacer, pace होता है.
For sure.
And doesn't move the ball around too much, but सिर्फ pure pace. I'm surprised he didn't take any wickets today. Santner spinning pitches, yaar. Kal bhi kuch aisa hi hoga lagta hai mujhe.
Yeah. So interesting, right? And also, I think this is the one ground where it seems like, so if you look at yesterday's game, there was a bit of dew by the end of it. The grass was wet. I think we haven't seen a lot of dew in Hyderabad. So I feel like it may be...
बल्कि कल 2 दफा ball change हुआ था. I think दोनों side जो ball
because of the dew. Yeah. And also keep in mind that यहाँ पे भी this is the only games where have been won by the team batting first are the games involving Netherlands, and they've been chasing both times. They've both been in Hyderabad also, so it could be I guess there isn't enough dew, and Netherlands being a weaker team than New Zealand and Pakistan, you can say, and they were batting second, so that's probably why. Otherwise, every single game has been won by the team chasing so far.
Really?
Yeah.
That's been the case, huh?
Yeah.
यार देखो इनसे तो आज जितनी एक्सपेक्टेशन थी दोनों टीम से जितनी थी वो उतनी ही रही अल्टीमेटली. आई थिंक थोड़ा सा उसने डच साइड ने टुवर्ड्स द आई थिंक 35 से लेके 45 तक का जो मार्क है तब तक बड़ा अच्छा रोक भी लिया न्यूजीलैंड को. कुछ विकेटें भी उठा ली, कुछ नए बैट्समैन आ गए, स्कोर्स सबके अच्छे हैं, लेकिन बीच में 3-4 विकेटें बड़ी जल्दी गिर गई थी. वो एंड में आके फिर 5 ओवर में इन्होंने अच्छे खासे रन बना डाले. तो innings pretty much very similar to in fact what happened with Pakistan and Netherlands, right?
This game looked really similar to that in so many ways, which is a bit bizarre. Same venue also.
Except हमारी 3 विकेटें गिर गई थी, तो we were never there at 240 feeling very comfortable,
For sure. Like when we were at the halfway mark, we were like, okay, let's get to 270 somehow. And they were like, okay, 350s on the cards. And in fact, if anything, Netherlands did well to keep them to 320 at some level.
I agree.
So and I guess in the second innings, it looks like Netherlands never really went for it. But I feel like, I think once they thought the target was out of hand, they were trying to, I guess, not let the run rate go too bad. I guess that's the approach they took. They weren't really trying to go for the target per se. They were just trying to maximize the runs they get, I think.
Yeah, I think so. But I think this is the problem also, right? I think Indian pitches इस तरह की हैं कि अक्सर रन 300 से ऊपर बन जाते हैं. अब 300 से ऊपर वैसे ही जनरली एक डॉन्टिंग टास्क है. I mean, you look at 300, अब 350 के करीब रन बन रहे हैं. कुछ दिन पहले 400 भी बन गए. तो 300 भी अच्छा स्कोर होता है. 300-350 अच्छा स्कोर है. बेशक इंडियन पिचेस हैं. अगर शुरू से वो 6 की रन रेट ना बरकरार रखें, बल्कि स्टार्ट कभी कोशिश करते हैं, अगर 350 कर रहे हैं तो उनको 6 नहीं चाहिए होता, 7.5-8 की कोशिश कर रहे होते हैं, तो फिर वो बड़ा हिट एंड मिस हो जाता है. उसमें कभी अच्छे रन बन गए. उस दिन कुसाल मेंडिस ने बड़े अच्छे रन बनाए. ही रिमाइंडेड मी ऑफ दिस वेरी, वो कुछ 47-50 पे था और उसके साथ जो आई एम नॉट रिकॉलिंग द अदर प्लेयर्स नेम, आई थिंक समीरा
शानिका the captain.
शानिका था उसके साथ.
He made 50 odd as well.
अच्छा, वो जब नहीं ओपनिंग जब पेयर चल रहा था मेरे ख्याल से उस वक्त 1 पे था उसका पार्टनर और 50 पे था. ये इतना अच्छा खेल रहा था. एंड मतलब जिस वक्त वो खेल रहे थे, और वो याद है एक बहुत पुराना मैच है,
जयसूर्या कलुवितारना, फाइनल ऑफ द सिंगर कप 96,
and he was, I believe, somewhere in the 70s. Jayasuriya,
what I do remember is Jayasuriya got a 50 and Kalu was still on 0.
So when Kalu got dismissed, if I'm remembering correctly, at 1 in that match, Jayasuriya was playing somewhere in the 70s.
Could be.
And I think इसी मैच में फिर उसने सेंचुरी बनाई थी. Might have been the 48 ball century.
Yeah. No, I think it was the same tournament, but this was the final which we won. I think he made the century in the earlier group game, but you're close. But okay, before we're moving on to tomorrow's game, which is, I guess there's exciting stuff coming up and I want to talk a lot about there. Let's look at New Zealand's fixtures. Now, they've obviously have 2 wins out of 2. The next 2 games are Bangladesh and Afghanistan. Before I get into where the games are, if they win those 2, which they should, they'll be sitting on 4 out of 4 wins. And they will need 2 more wins in the next 4 games. And that will include a game against Sri Lanka, Australia, South Africa, Pakistan. So I feel like New Zealand's in a good position. Having said that, if they had made to choose their favorite venue to play Bangladesh, Afghanistan, the last place they would choose is Chennai, the most spin-friendly track in India.
Yes. लेकिन देखो, you're right. अगले 2 मैच इनको जीतने तो चाहिए. Right? What is the match right after? I'm forgetting. What's the race?
Bangladesh and Afghanistan.
Bangladesh and Afghanistan.
Both in Chennai.
You know, at current form, Bangladesh तो बड़ा मुश्किल है कि न्यूजीलैंड को हराए.
And to be honest, Afghanistan भी, I'm not sure वो 50 ओवर की पेडिग्री है उनमें.
नहीं, I think इतनी 50 ओवर जितनी नहीं है शायद. 20 ओवर जितनी डेफिनेटली है. 20 ओवर में तो बहुत डेंजरस सब टीम हो गई. आदिल रशीद के 4 ओवर खेलना कभी कभी मुश्किल हो जाते हैं.
राशिद खान,
sorry राशिद खान. I got the Rashid right.
Yes.
The Rashid.
Both leg spinners.
लेकिन अगले 5 मैच फिर उनके टफ हैं और आखिरी मैच भी जो है वो श्रीलंका है. जो सारी टीम्स फिर अच्छी टीम है. श्रीलंका को बिल्कुल ही मैं लाइटली नहीं ले रहा इस वर्ल्ड कप में. है बेशक एशियन टीम, कंडीशंस जानते हैं. स्पिनर्स इतने शायद उनके पास इस दफा पेडिग्री या अच्छे वाले नहीं है जो टिपिकली एसोसिएटेड रहा. लेकिन फिर भी स्पिनर्स हैं. स्पिनर्स खेलते अच्छा है.
True.
And based on that South Africa performance, fast bowling बड़ी अच्छी खेली यार उन्होंने इन पिचेस पे.
True. And they made 300, right? They were chasing 450, but they made about 300 plus in that game.
I think they went to around 350 रन बनाए उन्होंने.
Yeah.
और सबने मारा. सबने आके कुछ ना कुछ मारा.
True. So yeah, I guess New Zealand, look, I feel like if they win the next 2, I mean, it's really hard for them not to qualify, because a lot of the teams they'll be facing will be severely under pressure coming from losses. Somebody will have to come from losses. South Africa, Australia, Pakistan, some teams will be coming with losses. So I feel like they would make it. But I guess moving on to tomorrow's games very quickly, before we look at Pakistan's game, we're going to quickly review the first game tomorrow morning. You mentioned it's at, I think it's 10:30 in the morning Pakistan time. England versus Bangladesh. We'll quickly look at the likely 11 for England. before we get into a discussion about what we think is going to happen. So England will probably, so in my view, they made a big mistake the last time around by not having Topley in there. And I think there's a name missing from this, but I think they'll Milan, Bairstow, Root, Brook, Butler, Livingstone is set. They went with Curran and Moyne last time. I would probably leave one of them out, probably Curran, and bring Topley in. I feel like Topley, in these conditions, he's taller, he can move the ball, he gets some really good bounce on the left arm angle, will be really good. Curran, I think, is more of a T20 kind of bowler. But I think this is the 11 they're probably going to go with.
Yeah, you know, Curran seems like the perfect fit for a T20 match. Also, he's pretty batting अच्छी कर लेता है, थोड़े से अच्छे you know, I mean, you can get some big hits from him. Bowling सही है. I think he's a little too slow for a 10 over sort of.
Yeah. Also, I think he relies a lot on, I think, the batsmen going after him in T20s in the second half of the innings. In the ODIs, that doesn't happen for most of them. They're not in the same way, right? So I think he's not as effective. And then England needs someone to get breakthroughs, which we saw against New Zealand, right? So I think Topley would be a good addition.
Topley is also quite tall, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes.
And you know, if anyone's going to get any bounce out of these pitches, it's the guys with the height advantage.
Sure.
So yeah, for sure. I think Ben Stokes तो definitely out है. वो तो मेरे ख्याल से confirm हो गया. Brook के होते हुए, they're not really missing him much, right? I mean, Ben Stokes
he's not bowling anywhere, right? So he's not bowling anywhere.
I think so. Curran should probably be out, but I think the rest of the team is exactly spot on.
What's your pick for this game?
On current form, even though the first match was pretty one-sided in favor of New Zealand, England's first match, I would go with England for this one. They do know how to play on Indian pitches. They've been playing the IPL. Unko utna to aata hai. So does Bangladesh. But I think on current form and the overall, just the paper strength of the team, the kind of numbers that these players have against them, against their, you know, like career stats, they're just a really good team.
There's too much quality, I think, to be honest, on paper, right? So I feel like England should go through.
You know, I did not see Wood's name on your list.
Wood has to be there, I think. If he's not there, if he's not there, it was a mistake. But he's there. Yeah.
He is there. Yeah. So again, you know, I really like this guy.
Sorry, this is meant to be both Wood, Rashid, and Topley. I've written Rashid and others separately. That's the mistake.
Yeah, but yeah, Wood should be. Yeah. I'd like to see him tomorrow.
For sure. Yeah. And I think he has a point to prove with New Zealand. He wasn't too effective. He was all over the place. So I guess moving on to the one which I guess is on most people's mind tomorrow, which is the big one. Pakistan versus Sri Lanka in Hyderabad, same venue where we just saw a game finish and same venue where we played our last game. I think very quickly, I'm going to put up the likely 11 before we have a few other talking points. The likely 11, according to Umair and according to myself, is the same as the last game, but there's no reason for us to make any changes as such. I think tomorrow's game, Umair, before we
get one change, you know, one just thought for you to consider.
Yeah.
आज के मैच में सेंटर ने 5 विकेटें ली हैं. He's obviously spinning the ball also. The pitch was useful. It's early stages. It's too early for everything. And, you know, I'm rather than try out somebody else at a later stage, this might not be a bad opportunity for Pakistan to perhaps consider playing one extra spinner tomorrow.
Which will be Usama Mir. So I actually have that as one of my 3 talking points for the Pakistan side. So I think I'll go straight to that. So can we somehow fit Usama in? That was literally my question there. And I guess the other question I have is other factors. Kal ka match jo hai Sri Lanka se. If anyone plays spin fairly well, it is Sri Lanka. So that's also a factor. Yes. Like I feel like agar hamara kal ka match England se hota ya Australia se hota, so the answer may have been different. So I was probably will stick to the 11A because we just won a game, so let's have some continuity, but also because Sri Lanka is samne. Agar Sri Lanka samne one of the Australia, England, South Africa hota, I would say let's bring Usama. And I guess related to this is, what do you think about Hassan Ali's spot, right? Because agar Usama aata hai as an extra spinner, to Hassan Ali ki jagah hi aata hai. What do you think of his performance and what's your take on him?
यार तो अगर मैं Usama लाता हूं ना, तो मैं हसन की जगह नहीं लाता. Then I would do something which is perhaps strange. I would sit out Rauf. I would keep Shaheen. सुनो, I'll tell you why. शाहीन को इसलिए रख रहा हूं क्योंकि एक लेफ्ट राइट का कॉम्बिनेशन हो. शाहीन थोड़ा सा रिदम में भी आ जाए, अच्छा है. वर्ल्ड कप में जितना रिदम में होगा हमारे लिए अच्छा है. Rauf tried, tested, doesn't deserve to be dropped at all. But if you're trying somebody, I would not want it to be at the expense of Hassan Ali. Hassan Ali is बड़ा कॉन्फिडेंस वाला बॉलर है. अच्छे कॉन्फिडेंस में चल रहा है, अच्छा उसका वो एक रिदम चल रहा है, तो वो रन बना वो विकेटें निकाल लेता है. उसके पास एबिलिटी है कि वो थोड़ा सा आउटसाइड ऑफ के चैनल में भी चले. ही इज नॉट आउटराइट अटैकिंग लाइक रऊफ एंड वसीम और रऊफ की 100 में से 90 बॉलें जो है ना वो स्टंप्स के ऊपर होंगी या बैट्समैन के ऊपर होंगी. उनको विकेटें चाहिए. हसन थोड़ा सा पेशेंट हो सकता है. अभी वापस टीम में आया है बड़ा मुश्किल से, बड़ी किस्मत से.
Dude, I'm still in shock. Dropping Haris, he's our best bowler. Like, he literally was the best bowler 2 days ago.
Yeah, but Haris will also be our best bowler when he comes back after a match.
Yeah, but if we can't afford to drop, I mean, again, that's your view, that's fine. My take is we can't afford to drop this game, so we have to play what we think is the best 11 to win this game tomorrow. And for me, there's no way Haris is not in it.
No, I agree. I think if I was just playing with the hypothetical, कि अगर हम Usama Mir को लाते हैं तो किसकी जगह पे लाते हैं?
Interesting. But you also, I guess you're saying that Hassan Ali.
वैसे कल सही है हारिस यार उसको.
What you're saying is Hassan जो है, if he's done enough, we should persist with him, and which is what we have in the 11 also, right? We think they'll do that, but let's see. And I guess the last question before we move on is Fakhr Zaman, are you happy with him being in the 11?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, right now, see, I'm not a huge fan of the guy, and I say this. Your guest yesterday said, and rightly so, this man has won us tournaments. And I mean, it's hard to take a position that I'm taking right now, which is I'm not a huge fan of the guy. I'm just not a huge fan of his technique. His technique, whatever it is or lack thereof, his great hand-eye, sort of coordination works for him and does for Pakistan. लेकिन अगर लंबे नहीं लग रहे तो कम से कम सिंगल ले लो. सिंगल डबल होना चाहिए. ही इज फिट एनफ, ही कैन रन. सिंगल डबल कर लो. ये बात मुझे नहीं समझ आती कि किसी क्रूशल मैच में अच्छी बड़ी रन चेस है और अगला बंदा जो है वो 20-22 बॉलें जो है पहले टुक टुक करके मुश्किल से 16-17 रन बनाए और उसके बाद कोई बेवकूफाना शॉट खेल के आउट हो जाए. ये थोड़ा सा, I mean, he's been around,
this is going to be the tagline for the episode, by the way. बेवकूफाना शॉट. Okay, good.
तो बट लेकिन उसने शुरू कर दिया है टूर्नामेंट. एक मैच से कुछ नहीं होता. इमाम का बड़ा अच्छा वो रन रहा है. आई लाइक इमाम. समथिंग वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग दैट आई रेड अप ऑन द प्रीव्यू टू दिस मैच. अगर इमाम उसको कुछ ही रन चाहिए 3000 रन पूरे करने के लिए. अगर वो कल 3000 रन पूरे कर लेता है तो ही डज दैट in the fastest time. I think he's equal to Hashim Amla.
Yeah, I think second fastest or equal to Hashim Amla. 2 innings का फर्क है मेरे ख्याल से.
But that's high, and that's a good number, yeah.
Which is amazing, right? Like,
this is amazing. Hashim Amla was
and like better than anybody else in the history of the game, basically, right? Which is crazy.
In the history of the game, like Hashim Amla to chodo. In the history of the game, that's exactly. Imam. So that's our opener. I think he's a really good, solid guy. I think he plays in really well also, so he should be okay. I'm hoping कि वो कल अच्छे रन बनाए.
The only challenge is his highest score in the last 7 innings, I believe, is 16. So he's due one, and I think hopefully it'll come soon.
He's due one.
But yeah. Okay, good stuff. Totally. So I guess quick before we move on and wrap up, prediction for tomorrow.
Pakistan, यार. I think हमें ले जाना चाहिए. हमें ले जाना चाहिए. श्रीलंका की जो बॉलिंग है वो थोड़ी सी relatively inexperienced है. If we are able to deal with the slingy action and the sort of spinning conditions, which we should be able to. I mean, इतने हमारे पास world class batsmen है, we should be able to. I think, yeah, and bowling for sure. I think I would back this Pakistani bowling over a lot of other bowling attacks in cricket right now. So
I'm sure you know this, but we have a 7-0 record against Sri Lanka in ODI World Cup. We've beaten them all 7 times we played them. So hopefully
Really?
it'll be 8-0 tomorrow. Yeah.
Wow, nicely done, yaar. So yeah, going for
Good stuff.
8 tomorrow.
So same. That's my prediction. Hopefully, for Pakistan win. I think before we wrap up very quickly, there is one last thing. There is a quiz question which you need to answer, Umair. Who is the only player in ODI history to take 4 wickets and score 15 consecutive ODIs?
Okay. Is it? Oh my God. I don't know the answer. I will guess. It could be Dutch Basdeleed because he's done that before. And another person who is certainly has that capacity today to do it is Imad Wasim, a person we haven't really picked up in this World Cup.
So your first guess was right. It's Basdeleed.
Yeah.
He's the only guy who's done it. And he did it against us, obviously, 2 days ago. But the previous game he did it was the game against Scotland, which he played. And that was a must-win game for Netherlands to win to qualify for the World Cup. And so, again, it was Scotland, sure, but it was a high-pressure game and it mattered a lot for them. So, yeah. I think I expect to see him in the PSL this year.
Yeah. So, last match, तो मुझे याद है 57 and 4 wickets, right? 57 or 67 and 4 wickets. But I think you and Farooq already discussed this yesterday, and I saw the podcast. Yeah. So I sort of cheated on the answer.
So I know I had a feeling. I figued this question was discussed. I was going to say it's like if you watch the show, you would know the answer. But
so I full acted like I brought in Imad Wasim. ये लगे कि cheating नहीं कर रहा, लेकिन मुझे जवाब मालूम था. Paper
Good stuff. Appreciate the honesty. So, Umair, thank you for being on the show. It was a pleasure having you.
Good being here,
and
man.
Hopefully we can have you again at some point. If you guys have any views what we discussed, please leave a comment on the video, or you can also go to our YouTube and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and leave a comment there. We'll happy to take any questions on tomorrow's show. And we'll be back tomorrow night after the Pakistan-Sri Lanka game. A lot to talk about: Pakistan, Sri Lanka, England, Bangladesh. Until then, stay tuned to the shiny side.